Okay, so we're going to do the last two postures that we walk with, and we'll talk about the last two at the end. Um, the last four, but the last two that we're going to actually do as part of this practice. I'll talk about the last two a little bit at the end. So they're very simple. Keep your specs in place. Really safety. Keep that spine elongated whenever you're doing the spinal twisties. So I'm trying to turn that belly button as much as possible until ideally you can get it to 45 degrees, but really truly keep that lengthening anytime you're doing twisting. The postures are this one. You're gonna wanna have that thumb up. It's a very common thing in the Pa Kuas. Fingers splayed, wrists together, elbows together, and wrists out a little bit from the body, or elbows out a little bit from the body. And the thumbs, of course, are a lung meridian thing. Lung meridian starts here, ends here. So you're always kind of stimulating that lung meridian in Chinese martial arts. And our second posture, and by the way, if you can't quite get those elbows together because of something that's going on in your structure, just try and get the wrists together for now. Some styles only do that, but we're an elbow wrist if you can. And then so the second posture is you're there and you just feel that rhythm between your fingers and stuff until you're here. And I'm subtly trying to push outward with my palms and create sort of a truly rounded shape. And it should be a ball, roughly speaking. And those are the only two postures. So safety specs in place. Well, let's go through this 3 times. Once just at a moderate pace that you might normally, slowish, normalish pace. Once I'm going to do it really fast, and once I'm going to do it with crane stepping. So all 6 postures today. Posture 1. Ideally, you do set, once you've got the posture, you do any version of multiples of 4 that you can. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 32, whatever. Go around the circle as many times as you want, but ideally it's 1, 2, 3, 4, switch the posture. You might take a step or two while switching that posture. Posture number 3. Turning outward, gathering that spiral. You can pause while you switch, which I just started doing spontaneously, or you can just switch while you're walking. Lots of variation. Whatever helps you learn and develop best. Oh, got a nice adjustment, excuse me. And then I usually just use this to center at the end and turn around and go the other way. Excuse me. So that ending move, by the way, is just kind of a scrape. I'm just kind of tossing away any tension that I might have gathered, because while you're developing a new shape in your body, it actually takes a little bit of muscular exertion to create that shape and hold that shape. And while you're trying to hold that shape and relax everything else, it creates basically tension patterns in the body that you have to work with. I'm going to try going around the circle fast, just real quick. Fast is really helpful for focusing on what's really important. Right here, bottom of your feet, elongation and relaxation. So moving slowly is better for developing certain aspects of form, but don't underestimate speeding it up. I actually sometimes get my best stuff from my spine sped up. So here we go. Other way around. And I'm not counting my steps very precisely right now, I should say, for anybody who's getting pedantic out there. I'm a little bit caught in the throes of trying to be a good teacher, so my form's never as pretty as I want it to be when I do these, and that's okay. Just my thoughts and stuff can cause me to have just not quite as good a form as I'd like. And I was getting some nice adjustments even doing the fast stuff. Okay, so the last version is just the crane stepping. And then we'll just have a couple quick closing thoughts on this section. And yeah, move on from the Pa Kua. So I forgot, I think, maybe to mention one quick point on the crane stepping. You actually want to touch with the ball of your foot, and then the rest of the foot comes flat, like a split second later. So you kind of got this quality, like say that's the ball of my foot, right? And that's the hole behind the ball of my foot, we'll pretend. It's very similar anatomy. I want to touch with this spot and then everything else simultaneously a half second, just a skosh later. So it's a relatively flat foot with just the slightest bit of touch down. See if I can get my feet in the shot. So just the slightest bit of touch down and then let go. If you can see that. Yeah, let's do the thing. You can't crane step with this first one, and that's okay. As you step out, you don't have to stop while you make those transitions, but that is one way that can be modeled. Stop with the foot that is in the center of the circle forward if you do it. You should be looking through this little gap right here. Yes, they call it the lion's mouth. It's where your gaze should be, about how high everything should be. You'll see me do an occasional adjustment of my spine, because that's what this has been helping me so much with. Same thing, other direction. little adjustment there for me. Okay, so you should have everything you need to do those 6 postures with your Pa Kua. As I develop teaching these things, I'm going to be relatively repetitious as a way of trying to make sure key points are remembered. But for now, I want to move on. Feel free to hit me up for any questions you have. The safety ones are the most important. But I wanted to show one quick tiny little bit more thing you can do, probably should be doing with these postures. And you can take any of them to do it. And you can play with any of them doing this. It has to do with, I'm not very good at pronouncing Chinese terms, but I think it's Kobu and Baibu. It might be Kobu and Baibu. What they mean, that you'll hear a lot of people, it's a big buzzword in the Tai Chi world right now, the Kua. Super excited. A lot of people are super excited about learning this Chinese word. They kind of mean the inguinal fold. They kind of mean this coxal joint here. And this coxal joint is the ball and socket joint that meets your hip. It's it's this into your hip, and that ball has a pretty good rotation. And in order to get really good at Tai Chi and Pa Kua, you have to learn how to move the Kua, as people love to say it, this coxal joint. You need to learn how to do this internal rotation and this external rotation. And you want to start exploring them. The place to start exploring them with the Pa Kua is just to do bigger circles and smaller circles. And you can also, shift which direction you're going around this circle relatively easy. So I'm going to show a quick visual on that. So I'll just pick whatever, you can choose whichever form you want, whichever posture you want, and they'll all work great for playing with this. I do find the symmetrical postures a little bit easy, these first 3, easier I should say. And so I might choose to have a really small circle. Let's see, let's just do this. And I might be like really, I'll show you a top-down picture for a moment, really taking some small steps where I'm really turning this coxal joint and really turning this coxal joint in order to create a shape that my hips then fall into that feels cozy. And you would of course want to do it both ways. I want to show you just a quick visual on that. So you might see a handful of classic things. You might see, let's see if I got it. That posture there. You might see what's called T stance, where I'm kind of making a T with my feet. Oh man, this is not as easy as I thought to get these angles, sorry. So you might see something like that, but the key point, and you'll even hear people talk about walking the square, where you just keep walking super small like that. And if you watch carefully, you can see that it's all from this hip. It's not my knee and ankle. That could cause a great deal of damage there. So that's one final simple circle walking thing you can do with these that'll help to develop that Kobu Baibu energy. And all that is in kinesiological terms is internal and external rotation of your coxal joint. So that's a great little practice for developing that. And you'll find it's important in Tai Chi too, but with slightly different emphasis. Okay, so then the one other thing I want to talk about is, 2 other things. So during the 5 Sun Tzu Kun was very fascinated by Pa Kua as a healing art, and he was taking it back to the healing art. And T.Y. Peng came away with, I think it's 3 basic Qigong practices that were like complex. You have the 6 silent sounds Qigong he used to do, and this self-healing acupressure massage, which I still do and still remember. I don't remember the 6 silent sounds anymore, but they stopped doing it. And they stopped doing it because of this one here, where T.Y. Peng, apparently Mr. Fong and the second time I was learning under Mr. Fong, said he had put away the 6 silent sounds and was just doing the inhalation, exhalation. Inhale up your legs, exhale down your limbs. I call this limb washing, and it's we're going to do a Qigong exercise on it next week. So we'll talk about and really isolate that thought of how you inhale up your legs and exhale down your legs. And what does that even mean? But anyway, that becomes a 5 elements practice. 5 elements practices are super important in Chinese methodology of healing for moving energy through organ systems in a progressive way that helps clear everything. The 6 silent sounds was amazing, but it was also super complex, and it was harder to relax during. You'd be like inhaling your liver meridian from your big toe up to your liver, and then out your eyes, and you'd have this basic shape, and this deep internal practice. It was really quite complex, but you were also doing reverse breathing as you did it, and you were also in your heels, and it was a complex practice. It was hard to truly relax while you did it. I think maybe that's why he stopped practicing it so much. But anyway, so my only 5 elements practice per se is those 5 postures. Now, not this first one, not number 1, but number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, and 6. So 2 through 6, those 5 are your 5 elements, and you go through them in the order that I showed you today. If you're doing the 5 elements, you inhale and exhale up and down the legs if you're doing the 5 elements. And you don't really need to fuss with the other postures too much. I always start here, gather the ball of energy into the dantian, start this thing. And yes, we will talk about what scientifically is going on with these balls of energies and qis and stuff. But for now, blowing past that, those of you who know, inhaling, exhaling, and you'll run energy through your organs in a specific way that helps clear blockages and bring health. Okay, the final thought I wanted to bring to this little series is actually just a question that pretty much every tight Pa Kua person out there who knows Pa Kua is asking right now. Well, you've shown us 6 postures. Where's the last 2? Because Pa Kua is always about 8s. And so I went for quite a dig trying to figure out what those last 2 were. I talked to students who have been Mr. Fong's senior students for like 30 years. I have talked to various people, and the only chatter I could find was a little bit online about it and one picture in his book. I'm going to show you that picture because I believe this is the 7th posture. So this is a stripped down Pa Kua, but it has everything in it, roughly speaking. Some schools have slightly different things. This posture here, he's in a deep version of the posture. That is a Pa Kua posture. It does not show up in his Tai Chi forms. Here, let's get just a little closer. So you don't need to be quite that high for it, or excuse me, low in the stance for it. But that's probably the 7th posture. It was probably meant to be done with a sword. And the only chatter I could find online was that he used to walk the circle with a sword, and that was the entirety of his Pa Kua weapons practice. So my theory is, I should have grabbed a sword. Right back. Okay, so my theory is, so of course you don't have to be way down in a deep stance for it. My theory is that this little sequence here are the 2 that he was exploring. It's a very classic. I followed the Chung family. We're a twig off a branch off of the Chung limb of Pa Kua, and this is a very common Pa Kua circling thing, walking with the stances and this very basic exercise. So I'm inclined to think that those are the final two postures. Whether they are or not, I will let the scholars debate, but I'm pretty sure number 7. There is another one that might be number 8, and I have a memory that might be a false memory of a potential for number 8. So I'm going to talk to Mr. Fong and get some further instruction here, probably in about a year. But in the meantime, number 7 and number 8 are speculative. And I don't know what to say about it beyond that. T.Y. Peng seems to have just edited some things out of his system as the year went by. The 6 silent sounds I already mentioned. So I question that the first thing he dropped wasn't these 2 sword stances. And part of the reason for that is possibly because some of the Pa Kua and Jingyi was actually blended into his sword family styles. You can hear Bonnie Newman reference this in her video that she made about the Dao sword form. Bonnie Newman was one of T.Y. Peng's last students. And if you can find that video, I have it. It's a wonderful little video on the Dao. So yeah, I think that's it. So we have only 6 for certain stanzas here. Yeah, I think I covered it all. So have at you. Hit me up with questions or comments. I am here for it. Have a good evening. I don't know why this won't turn off.